Morning. Hey everyone, Lazy Ben. Bit late, but I'm here. Just do some admin stuff, uploading some stuff to YouTube. Okay. So, let's get back on with it. Triggers. So this little bit of code here that we need to implement now actually opens the editor at that trigger location in the world. So what we want is the path, and then we have get trigger region, and it's just the position that we need, which is actually currently now. Content view trigger ID. Right, so we actually need to find out where this trigger is as well. So all I'm just going to do is go let's call this end. So we can break out of both of them loops, and then if the trigger is found, we need to get the path so the path is what level this is in. So this is here, this is in content. So we need optref trigger content, game bot content. Content equal, say trigger. No, I'll just say content. And we don't need trigger found anymore. We'll just say content is candidate, and then we'll say if content content cache get path content get ID. Possibly. Let's just see if this happens then. Let's just check the levels of the mic as well. Seems all right. All right. It's a weak pointer. So we can just do that, I believe. Right. So let's just put a breakpoint here. See where we are. So It was in here, wasn't it? Events. Here we go. So we have our content. We have our ID. There's no such thing as path on disk. That isn't a thing. We need to actually see if we can get it. It's empty. So we either have to fill in path on disk. I wonder why. So this is we get it with that ID. So asset editor types. When we actually construct one, right, okay. So we're saying that the ID is the hash of the path. I think it needs to be new get ID. What actually is that? It's just an ID. And that ID is just a new ID. So we'll try that. That means that when we get it, we should be able to get it by its ID. Get the path by its ID. We're also popping this window open a little bit small. Alright, so now we know what path it is. So it's in test.prefab. So if we go to engine config and just make this window a bit bigger, where would it be? Editor config. 920. 1280. So we have the path now, which is this path. So we can do this. Rather than drawing trigger found, we just draw the path in green where the trigger is. So what we need to do, we need to actually locate where this trigger is. So because we do have the trigger, but its actual position is in local space to the instance of where, so I think it's to the center of the trigger or something, local space to the center of the trigger. It's not world space. So the trigger has in it, it does have a position. Yeah, great, okay. So when we say get trigger content data, what does it actually return when we do view? Auto. It returns all the brush instances. Right, okay. So we can actually just cache out the position. Standard optional. Back to trigger position. So we can just say trigger position is the trigger position, like that. So if content and trigger position. And that should allow us now so this is path, this is trigger position. Yeah, the format always has a bit of a problem when I do if 0. Can't seem to work it out after that. There we go. P level.
Ads running soon.
What I might do is just have a quick search for this, because this is what I type when I am wanting a breakpoint. What's this? Add down key. We've got a lot of problems. Behavior test. That could probably get deleted. So in theory now, we should be able to click on a trigger and locate it in the world. And test it out. This doesn't seem like 920 by 1080 either. Maybe I typed it in wrong. 1280, 920 by 1080. That's what I want. Yeah, we'll test it out. So if I do this, and then I do this, just run through this code. Okay, good. If I click locate trigger, it should go to it. It goes to here. So let's copy this trigger ID and put in an event condition trigger. So that says trigger not found. Copy trigger ID. So that's not working there. It's probably because it's a different code path. Yeah, we want to unify the code paths. Because it's not going through here. This validate trigger. So let's unify the code paths. So search for everywhere there's trigger not found. So this one that we implemented is in game event types. which is in the Sci-Fi Gardener library. We want to do one that's not in the engine condition types, really. So locate trigger. This that we validate trigger needs to actually be probably in an actual function that's in here. Engine event types. Well, it's not really necessarily an engine event type thing. Maybe it should actually be it could be part of the canvas, but we might not actually be using it. Have a canvas for everything. We have an editor canvas there and there and there. Yeah, maybe we do attach it to an editor canvas then. Or we make some kind of renderer. Like a custom renderer really for a trigger ID. UI renderer. Object UI renderer is it? We've got draw UI object. And we could actually put in make an object UI renderer for a trigger. Possibly. The thing is we wanted to do it on its ID, really. Which is only a U64. I think we do make an object UI renderer for it, but it's just where to put it. Because it is to do with UI. Needs to be in the BM engine, really. Could just put it in the object UI renderer. Edit a UI renderer, maybe. That's a bit more high level, that. Specifically talking about things like triggers. Whoops. Well, for the sake of argument, we'll just put it in here for now. do. So we'll do struct trigger ID object. And then we're going to do struct object UI renderer of the trigger ID object, I think. And we just want draw. So what do some of these draws look like? What are they? Statics. So it's basically this. There isn't actually a CPP file associated with this. And you won't want to make one because it thinks it's templated, which is not. But it's specialized. It is templated, kind of. So we need an object UI renderer class. So we'll just do void foo. See if we can get it to make us one. Yes. So actually, this can go in here. It's not in line. So this is probably where we're going to put actually. So we want draw UI object. Yeah, so that, yeah, okay. So this is probably going to be where we put that code in the game. Was it game event renderer? Where was it? Game condition types. Where did we? Where was it? Validate trigger. So this goes actually in UI object renderer, and then we're just going to go auto trigger ID is ob.id. Okay, so we need to include some things. So where is editor colors? Editor colors. Just keep adding what we need until it compiles. There we go. So now, in theory, that's what we do here. Well, where would it be? Wherever we're basically doing this. Let's just go back to the one we were actually working on. Where is it? Validate trigger. So, who's calling validate trigger? In a bunch of places. So instead of validate trigger, we're going to have get them all anyway. Draw UI object, and this is trigger object ID. Is that what it was called? Whoops. Don't think it was. Raw UI object. Trigger ID object it was called. What's going on here then? Undeclared identifier, broadcast item breaker, and game event types. Do we not actually include that? What's going on there then? Well, this error is nothing to do with what we've been working on. So it's probably some kind of include, circular include thing. So that includes game event types. Game event types includes object UI renderer. That includes editor canvas for some reason. I don't think that actually needs to include editor canvas. So we can just forward declare editor canvas. Event broadcast item breaker undeclared identifier. So that comes from game event types. Unsure what the problem is here. Put that there. Put that there. Basically, it says it can't find this. That's where it is. Broadcast item breaker in game event types. which is here, which does include Object UI Renderer. That's what we have been working on. Although there's nothing really there at all that should be a problem. Okay, well, let's just take it out of here for now. Maybe it can be here. Is it when we're actually compiling an inventory item? Oh no, it says compiling source game event types. I mean, it's right there. Object UI renderer is now unchanged, at least the header file is. Well, okay. Well, we're saying this. Let's just comment them out. This is very confusing. All right, let's just stage this. How do we do that? Well, let's push it and then let's just go back. Let's check out that one. And then engine event types. What was it? Game event types. So now that is fine. Oops. So basically it can't find any of the is it reflect type? That's specifically in there. Because it says reflect type is not a class or a namespace. Oh look, we're not namespaced. Must have. That's weird. What's going on there? Why is that on namespace? I didn't delete an entire namespace. Oh, it says namespace BM there. I must have just deleted it from the top. Too busy deleting things. I'll do it. That'll cause a bunch of compile errors. Alright, trigger ID, undeclared identifier. So, let's actually put this in the header now. Cannot convert from trigger to object type. So this has to be a left-hand side, apparently. Ooh. Big Wilder, hey, how's it going? Hope you're alright today. It has to be a left-hand side. Is that strictly speaking true? We've got a right-hand side one, where we just move it as well. So we must need both. Rather than passing as const. Don't want to really pass it in as const because I want to be able to alter them if I want to. So let's do this. Probably have to implement the right hand side one, maybe. Or I'll work it out. Yeah, so this needs to do this really. So have you ever experienced the 10th circle of hell? No, I have not. What am I in for with that? It's called STM32 Cube IDE. No, I never heard of that. What a bizarre name. Just looking at it now. A development platform for microcontrollers. Ah, okay. Yeah. No, never heard of it.
Ads running soon.
Oh, right. So it takes 5 hours to get a single LED thing. Really? I've never done. I haven't. I've done a little bit of microcontroller stuff, but it was back in school, back in sixth form. Couldn't tell you what IDE they were using then. It was like probably on Windows 95. All I remember it was assembly code. I had to write assembly code. Made a guitar tuner, which was quite fun. Picks, yeah, something like that. Picks, yeah. We're talking over 20 years ago. So I can't remember. I got a pretty good grade for it though, I remember. Some of the oldest PC programmable microcon. Yeah. Pix does ring a bell. It came with like a development board that you could wire stuff into, and then you could actually burn stuff from the computer over onto the board. I remember that. And then the school that I was in had a few of them. Microchip. No. Pix rings a bell though. Pick. It might ring a bell because the graphics debugger's called Pix as well. But yeah, maybe. So we're everywhere now where we're doing trigger not found. Is draw UI object, canvas, trigger ID object, trigger ID. And all that can go away. MP lab. I couldn't remember. We're talking like 22 years ago, I think. Maybe more than that. 24 years ago. Did work though. I could plug my guitar into it and it tuned it. Well, I plucked the string and it told me the note. I remember that. It was good. So that's here as well. Raw UI object, canvas, trigger ID object, ob.trigger ID. And here. Oh, that's the one that's the main implementation. And here. Is it travel trigger ID? Tick node panel. That's just a draw UI object. Travel.trigger ID. WinPick. Yeah, it could have been. It was on Windows, I believe. And it was definitely assembly. Some kind of assembly. MP Sam. Yeah, the closest sounds pick. Sounds like pick. Right then, let's just see then. So that locates the trigger. If we copy this trigger ID and then put it in this somewhere, so we'll put a condition that's trigger. We do this. We locate it. It should go there. Should it select it as well? Probably. So we open the path at a trigger position. And that returns void. It would be nice to select it. WinPick was a simplified IDE for pick microcontrollers. Yeah. Let's have a quick look at that. Looks like Windows XP, doesn't it? None of it looks familiar, but I don't think I would remember, to be fair. Until IDs have come on a long way. Try MP Lab. This looks quite modern, doesn't it? I mean, it probably existed. It might have probably existed all the way back then. That looks pretty modern. Wow, this looks like it's written in Java. This try and get it visible on screen a bit better. This looks like the Java UI stuff. Cool. The 98 edition. Yeah. '98. Refers to the MP being used. Around 2006. Yeah, I mean, if it was that, it was probably around 2002, 2001. Around that, maybe even yeah, probably about 2001. Did you hear back from your professor that you emailed? Nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's only been a couple of days, hasn't it? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so it would be nice to select. So this gets the edit. So this should work across different actual prefabs or rooms. So let's try that. So if I select this trigger ID and then I open up another prefab like this one, it's not great on the frame rate. It's probably because there's so much grass in the level. And then I'll just make a trigger and then I'll just put some random event. It doesn't do anything. E-condition trigger, put in the trigger ID. If I locate it, even if this is closed, right, so should open it up with that new trigger. It is selected. I don't think that isn't there by default. So how do we want to select it? So when we call open, it should maybe return the actual editor itself, because then we can do set focused on it. So editor window, what would it be? Game board editor. Set focused with the ID. Basically, that's what we want to do. We want to set focused with the trigger ID. But we need to actually get the game board editor. Let's see if this actually messes with the game board editor. This is the editor window, so this is like the window that the editor sits inside. The game board editor is just this bit. So we would go events, locate trigger. I need to get NAT JMC to work as well. That stopped working. So this is a prefab editor, which has a board, which has contents in it. Just what does he do? Game board group editor, current board, and that would, if we did game board group editor. This is a bit of legacy stuff, this. I used to be able to group together game boards in different ways. It would get removed. I did try and remove it once, but it was a bit too much work. And this has editable game board, which has the game board, which you can call get root content on. So the way we would do this is that would have to return the editor, which is a pointer. So like a weak pointer. Possibly both of them. So this would be weak pointer editor. Just stop that. Weak pointer editor. MP new editor. And this would also be weak pointer. Check that builds. So now it doesn't build. I had a pointer. That's actually, no, it's actually just a weak pointer. But I had a. It's just that. So now I've got some linker errors. Somewhere. Let's rebuild it. Back to the 10th circle of hell. Yeah, enjoy. enjoy. So those linker errors were not real. So now we actually have the editor. So we can go if auto editor equals that. We can go, what kind of editor are we expecting it to be? A prefab editor or a prefab editor or a room editor. So we'll just dynamic cast it. Hard to say enjoy. All right, push through it. Push through it. That's the way to do it. Prefab edit invalid for dynamic cast. Don't really want to do. What is it? It's dynamic cast, isn't it? Doesn't like it. Just do it like that. It can be a prefab editor. The type in dynamic cast must be a pointer or a reference to a complete type or void pointer. Well, it is a pointer. So maybe we can actually cast it to a game board group editor as well. So they're both the room editors and the prefab editors are game board group editors. We need to include it. Don't know why it wouldn't allow me to be a prefab editor. So can we do this? Maybe it's because it was not directly inherited. I don't know. So game board group editor now has boards. So do we have get current board? Get game board. So group editor. Get game board. Get root content. There we go. So let's just, there's quite a lot of ifs here. Huh. That sounds wonderful. That sounds a wonderful user experience. Oh yeah, I know. Some of them are just ridiculous, aren't there? Some of these experiences. So we'll just return for now. This will be fine. So we'll get the group editor. Return. I tend to prefix with pointer as well. It's a raw pointer. And then we'll get the board. Return. And then we want to get the root content. Ah. return, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do content set focused ID, which must be private. Set focused content, is it? Trigger ID. Set focus content is not a member of game board content. What is it a member of then? It's the game board editor. Okay. So P group editor get editable game board editor. That's what we want actually. So we want the editable game board, and then we want board editor. Set focus content trigger ID. So we want the game board, the editor, no, set focused ID. Yeah, that's it. Set focused ID, trigger ID. So in theory, if that works, what is editor? Oh, editor's not a pointer there. If this works, it means that we can just select, the trigger ID will be selected when we click on the actual button. Kevin McAllister. 1452 was a good year, that. It sounds like a really fun experience. Alright, so let's just see if this works. So if this works, then when we click the button, the trigger will be focused. So we actually need probably on a different one. So we'll go put an event in, trigger. So right now this one is focused. If I locate trigger, it should swap the focus over. It didn't. Because it needs to be not the trigger ID, it actually needs to be the content ID. Content ID. Get ID. Okay, so we'll do this again. Copy the trigger ID. Put in a condition. Trigger. So now if you click it, the other one should become focused. If you didn't. Set focus content. Okay, so this is a bit more complicated, I think, because we need to actually... Alright, while these ads are running, if you get any, I'm going to go make a cup of coffee. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Yeah, got a big cup of coffee now. So we do want to set focus content where we can just pass in the content that we want to focus on, I think. Like this. That obviously doesn't exist at the moment. Set focused content. Sounds absolutely awesome. I'm being sarcastic. I'm sure you already know that. Void set focused content content brush instance. This is so. What is focus content? So this should actually work. This should compile now. Does not. What is this then? This is game board content. It's this. Okay, so what we're going to do here then is this is going to be the content brush instance. And I'm going to call this a trigger instance. This is trigger instance position, and this is trigger instance. Do we have a bounds? Get bounds. Get brush instance bounds. Which doesn't do anything yet. So I think what we should do is implement get bounds center, and we should implement get brush instance bounds for triggers. I'm wondering as well. This is going to be local to the root of the prefab that it's in. At the origin of the prefab, rather than the room that the prefab is in. I believe. So we might need an offset here. We'll work with that. Rect result. So it would be auto trigger data instance get data trigger content data. If there's no trigger data, return get bounds dot translate instance position minus instance origin. I believe that's the result. Concurred. Oh my word. Return result. Yeah, I need to know actually who's calling this? Only there. And that's get bounds. So this needs an offset, really. So who's calling content brush instance get bounds? It's probably when it's generating the. So we're gonna go when it's generating the thumbnails. So this needs an offset, really. And then get brush instance bounds. Also needs it. Oh, didn't copy it there. That and plus offset at the end of all these ones. Whoops. Plus offset as well. All right. Game bar content, get bounds, offset position. Look, there we go. Get bounds, offset position. So there's no actual translation there. That's offset. Offset. God damn it. So where are we now? So this offset is actually just Vec2. Yeah, interesting, because this offset might need to get filled in if it's part of a prefab. I'll have to experiment with that. Okay. All right, so this actually is not quite working. I don't think. So when we generate this thumbnail, it should take into account now. Now we've put in the actual trigger bounds, the trigger, and it's a little bit too small. So let's figure out what's going on there. We probably actually just need to regenerate the thumbnail. So we'll just go to, well, if we just go to the actual where they are on disk, compiled brushes. So we'll just get rid of them. Very beginner friendly. Yeah, man, there's nothing I hate. Nothing I like worse than like trying to figure out new software. I don't like that. So Careless Music, how's it going? Hope you're alright. Where it's just reading documentation, clicking buttons, nothing's working. I just don't like that. That's like not fun. Alright, so none of that works anymore, which is unfortunate. So let's figure that out then. It would be in generate content brush generator. So if we just delete this, it will regenerate the thumbnails. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I was a bit late on stream this morning because I accidentally knocked. So I was hoovering up this morning and I was hoovering like a picture frame, and then it went onto the curtain and pulled the curtain rail down, which was really annoying. It's like a very weak curtain rail or a very strong vacuum cleaner. So I had to like put that back up before I came to work, which was rubbish. I like buttons, but I don't like to label them. Oh dear. That is unfortunate. So Carlos sips coffee as well. Here's the coffee. Okay. So this is the thumbnail generator for getting board content. Something to do with bounds. So we're doing get bounds. Content get bounds. Input on one, but yeah. Crazy way to live. Or nothing at all. There are some those very talented touch typists who have nothing written on their keyboards, which is quite a skill. I bet that's a nightmare to learn. Man, and it's not JMC, it's not working at all because it's going into STL code. What is going on? I need to fix this because this is like very annoying. So it says it's valid at 0. Brush instances 1. It's prefab content data. So I didn't end up in my prefab. Game board content. Get bounds. Get brush instance bounds. Prefab content data. Alright, let's put a breakpoint here. Yeah, for some reason, Visual Studio, I mean, it updated. And the .jmc files don't work, and they're like the files that stop you jumping in to like STL code. And I have one for my own code as well because I don't want to jump into like all the different types of code. And that's just stopped working. Prefab brush ID. Because there's no brush. Do we not have deterministic brush IDs? We definitely should. If that's probably, we did change that. So we could locate them by ID. Okay. I might have to take a step back. So it's in game board content construct one. Construct one. It's here. We're using this ID now. Yeah, okay. It has to be deterministic. It has to be hashed on the path for this to work. Fix an audio amplifier. Oh yeah, enjoy. Okay, so that breaks another part of code then. So how do we get the path of something we don't know? Right, this should actually work. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so here we go. It does take into account the bounds now. It probably needs to be inflated as well. So that's the trigger bounds when we actually calculate the trigger bounds. Get brush instance bounds for triggers. It actually needs to be, the width and height needs to be like that, because the actual trigger positions are in the bottom left corners of the trigger of this cell, you know. So now we've actually, okay, so let's check that worked. Yeah, that's better. So now we've done that. Now we've actually where is it? Game board content construct one. The content ID is not the ID of the game board content, which is confusing. So we could just set it, couldn't we? We could say p new well, it would be p new set ID of result, right? Which is fine. I think that's fine. It's just what happens if we're placing one. If we're making one, we're not loading one from disk. We're making one. So that's in the content cache. Place content. So there is no set ID yet. So that's in editor window. New is it? We call open on the path. New editor. So does CC get, will it place one? Let's try this. Just make a new prefab. We just need to make sure that when the prefab is created, its ID is the hash of the path. Call it ID test.prefab. Try and get this not JMC side. So we do CC get. Calls get asset, which calls make asset. We need to go here, which basically does call construct one. Ah, look, we have an actual overloaded for all our editor types. So we call initialize there's nothing in it. So I wonder if we should set it here. We should just say that the ID is the hash of the path. So does it have an ID? Not there. Just has a name. So in prefab editor, gameboard group editor, no, it's the content in it. It's the actual content, gameboard content. Gameboard content. Whatever it is. Gameboard content. Where is the actual? This has an ID. This is the ID that needs to be set to the path. Okay. Let's follow it until it creates the new content. So let's go. Let's just delete. Hang on. Let's just delete. Where are we? Levels, but prefabs ID test. Yeah, so well, hang on. So this is game board content. So the ID, it needs to be deterministic on something. So we were doing it on path on disk. I think that's the best way to do it. Just means you can't move it on disk, but we probably won't ever do that. At least relative to the assets directory anyway. And I'm not about to implement some kind of virtual file system. Yeah. So let's do boat prefabs id test.prefab, and let's just follow this through. To where it actually creates
Ads running soon.
the game board. So game board editor, and then we call initialize. So it's add game board, I believe. Must be add game board. No. Try that again. So let's just have a quick look at this. So it has no boards in it. There we go. In place the new board. Ah. So we do actually go through we've got the next path. ID, root content ID, path. So that needs to change. So we're in add game board basically. So game board ID, root content ID, path. So we need root content ID is #64 path. Path is path. And we just want to actually see where did that wrong. Root content ID is #64 path. Path is path. So we actually have to supply a path now. Add game board. So that is content path. This add game board, might see if we can get away with deleting. On new. That looks like a callback. Yeah, it's an override from my editor. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Add game board from root content ID. Save level. Add game board content ID. Okay, so we do need to be able to add a game board. So can we just do if root content ID? So can we just do game board, new board? Doesn't have a default constructor. Yeah. Let's just see where else we are doing this. I don't actually think possibly we can get rid of that. Can get rid of that. So we need a path. So path and a reader. So maybe we just do path. All right. And if we don't have a content path, we can just fake one. Just I'll run my audio program. Ah, right, okay. Did get sound, but the main loop for writing to the buffer is looking for the flag. Ah, okay. Triggered quite a lot, right? Okay. See, yeah, nice. When you hit the end of the file, yeah, that's the thing that you have to do in X Audio as well. You have to supply a flag for the end of the actual buffer. I think I don't like that API design, that API choice, personally. So at least it's reading from the file. Exactly, yeah. What's the problem here? It's an editable game board. There's all these different types of game boards. I'm using Azure, not hearing the audio. Okay. This music's insane. Hang on, let me just get rid of it. Yeah, not sure. I'm changing too much of this too fast, you know. Let's just go back because I'm changing too much too fast. I'm using C#. It's instead of printing everything to a new line. It'll just do a count. All right. It'll do a count as in if you're printing the same message over and over again. Event call times 10. Yeah, that's cool. So what's that? Is that a different type of brick, like a trace point thing. Yeah, nice. Man, this is so complicated. Let's put this back. Yeah, is that called a trace point? Not really used him that much. Okay, so that is a game board. And that has done the hash. I mean, this is using a different content cache as well that we're about to delete anyway. Game board path content. So what is content pool? Look, so this is game board content. So this is confusing. So that is not actually called any kind of constructor, I don't think. Okay, cool. I believe it's called a trace point. So you can like right click and insert trace point. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't experimented with this and know for sure. Nothing like that. Okay. You say it's in Visual Studio? It would be quite handy. So this, when it calls malloc, oh, it does do a construct, look. Okay, so we can actually pass in here. Malloc's a bad name. It should be in place, really. Content path. Right, so that gives the content. Hopefully that gives the game board content the same. The game board content, the hash 64 of the path as its ID. It's confusing. Check. ID test. So we call malloc on the content path. And it's saying path on disk is path on disk. So it needs to be ID #64 path on disk. Just a feature of the output. Ah, interesting. Should we have I might have a go and see what I might actually have a go at a trace point, see what it is. After this. Should always try and learn new things, I suppose. Right. So it's not going to work for this one, unfortunately. But it will work for a new one. So if I do trigger, put one in, put two in, and then I'll copy this ID, and then put in a trigger in. Does find it, yes. So that is based on the fact. There we go. That is based on the fact that now the now the content ID is the hash of the file name. Yeah, man. Let's have a quick look at trace points. So we're going to do in x is 0 while x plus plus in y equals x, I don't know, and then we'll put a trace point here. Function, the value of x y is x dot y. Function, the value of x is x. No, let's do this. Like nothing's happening. But it's because it's not getting to the trace point. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. So it's not printing it on a new line. It's not printing it on one line. I think what it is it just allows you to actually output what's happening. That's kind of handy. So that's like printf debugging built into Visual Studio. This is gonna hang for ages now. But that's all right. Actions. Disable breakpoint once hit. Only enable when the following breakpoint is hit. Oh, that's clever. So we could say if x is 10 and z is 2, and we could set a breakpoint there. So can we name breakpoints? Edit label. So what's the label all about then? Oh, it's just got a label there. It's a shame it doesn't actually show the... Maybe it does if I reopen it. It doesn't actually show the actual label there. You know, so then you could actually name the other breakpoint and then you could pick it up on that list. So when that gets to 10, it will start printing out. There we go. Now it starts printing out. Only once. Why did that only print out once? So it must only do it one time. Oh, that's clever. So that means you can, like, if this condition happens, then print out the trace point. That's what it means by that. It doesn't mean start printing out the trace point. Enable's kind of the wrong word then. So you're not enabling it really. You're enabling it for like one time. So you're just kind of like firing it. So it should be like only fire when the following breakpoint is hit. But yeah, clever. All right. Okay, cool. That unfortunately means that these content, game board contents, like test prefab, has the wrong ID now. For it to work with, because the ID is dependent on this now. I don't know any other better way to do that. The only problem with doing this is that you can't move them. Because then you get an ID clash if anything else went in its place. But I don't know any other deterministic way really to get an ID that's like the same every time. Because that is the file name. That is the definition of a file name, really. Okay. So let's just, what would it be? We could replace, we could at least do it with the test one. So, what is the test one? So if we do edit a window, we could just hash this. And then put that as the ID. Are you getting duplicate hashes? No, I'm not, but so I need a deterministic hash. I need like the hash to be the same every time. So when I create, so for the ID of the prefab, so when I basically want to regenerate anything, it comes to the same ID. But the problem with doing that is if you the only way I could think of doing that is to base it off the file name. So the prefab is a file on disk, which is this hash here. So that could be the ID, that 9322 number. Now the problem is if I was to move that on disk and then call something else test.prefab, you would have an ID hash clash. Then you'd have to write code which whenever it's loaded, it changes the ID to be whatever the path on disk was. But then you could never use that in game logic. You could never say like test this ID or whatever. So I just have to know in my mind that like you shouldn't move them. The way that like bigger engines do this, handle this, is that they have like a virtual file system, I think. So like the actual location on the real hard drive stays the same, but people can move them around in the editor to whatever directory they want. Maybe. I'm not sure exactly how they would handle it. As a grid system. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, like I think the grid stuff is based on the actual class name. Or at least to use it. So that's the thing that never changes, the class name. But you need something that doesn't change ever. Like you need at least one thing. It could be a GUID. But then you'd have to get that GUID back. You know, imagine like you deleted all of the prefabs. If you put them all back, in theory, it should all the IDs should be the same. If you remade them all. So I don't know. Need a cool way to do that. Anyway, that's the new hash. Yeah, that's something I've never really been able to figure out. I'm sure there is a solution. That goes there now. What about using a file property to assign a unique ID type of thing? So it's like if you delete the file and then you remake it, how would you give it back that same ID? And part of the file itself. Alright, yeah, have a good time at work. Have a think about it. Think about how maybe you would solve that. Let's have a look. Deterministic ID that isn't file name. How would you identify a file without a file name or a file path? Yeah, that's not right. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, cool. So now we've actually put that ID in the file. It should work. So we can copy this ID. Yeah, copy this ID. Put in an event with a condition on it. Trigger condition. And it will load it. Didn't select it though. Is that what we were actually working on, trying to get it to be selected? I think that's what we were actually working on before all this. Alright, I just need to go to the loo. And then we'll do that. So that is in the UI object renderer. Set focus content, which is not implemented yet, so it's here. We'll be back in 2 minutes and we'll do that. Dokes. So what is focused content? What does it need? It's just an intersection candidate. So it probably only needs the instance ID, the input ID as well. Probably just needs the input ID. The instance, what did I say it was? The instance ID. So focus content is focus content. The instance ID is content ID. Probably just needs that. I can put more stuff in. So we actually need another constructor for this. Content brush instance. And that's just instance ID is instance ID. And that can just be content, I believe. instance ID. What's the problem? Oh, it's all right. It's here. And then on the properties, let's see then. So I just want it to run the functions that draw the properties and draw the focused ID, draw the focus content. We should hopefully just draw the outlines and all the properties in the left hand pane, the panel. There we go. Perfect. That's it. All right, mint. So I think that draws a line under triggers. Don't think there's anything else we need to do with them. So I might have a quick look at why this .jmc files aren't working. GMC, maybe it's a compiler flag. All options. Support just my code. So this has been turned off for some reason. That is insane because I've never turned it off. Yes. Oh God. Yes. Don't need that for this one, and this has got no C++ code in it. Yeah. All right, so we've probably got to rebuild everything. All right. Never turn that off. Apparently it's set to no. Hopefully this works as well. So the next thing I want to work on is collider. The colliders, which is basically going to follow a similar progression to what triggers did. Apart from they are handled a little bit differently because they're actually meshes. Actually 2D meshes. Alright. I'm trying to check the JMC stuff is working now. Okay. It's a good place to test. Draw content. We'll go from here. Yeah, it's work. No, it's not working. Oh my god. This shouldn't be visible. Okay. I'm gonna restart Visual Studio as well. No, it's not working. I'm going to remake this file. VM engine.nat JMC. Not working. Okay, so another thing. We'll try another thing. Whoops. I'll try and delete this VS folder. Oh no, it's not working. It's not working. Let's try something else. Let's do standard vector v dot push back int 1. I want to see if it's working for STL. No, it's not working for SDL either. This is crazy. Why is it not working? Let's have a look at the disassembler, because I believe it's an assembly thing, how this actually works. Right. There's a little call at the end. It's totally not working. It's not even there. Oh, here it is. Check debugger does just my code. JMC there. JMC, yeah. It's totally not working because I can step into STL, which is not what I want. Enable just my code in the tools, in the properties panel. Let's try that. Oh, this is turned off as well. What's going on, Visual Studio? I didn't turn that off. Hopefully this fixes it. Yes, yes. Yes, oh my god. Why does it do this to me? Right, okay. So what I'm going to do is, before we move on to the collision stuff, collidables, I need to make the game board editor smaller because it's absolutely huge at the moment. It's 6,800 lines long. There's a bunch of things that we can do to make it smaller because everything's kind of split up now into these types of classes. So we can have one file each, I think. So we want to do content painters first. Content painters .h. Do I actually need that class? The only thing I'm not too sure about is what we actually need to include in here. Content painter. Content editor. Content painter. So we definitely need this. Is content brush. Where does that come from? Game board content. So I think we possibly need to include game board content. This we might be able to forward declare. And then we possibly, that's it. I'm not sure if we actually need to include all these specializations. In the header or not. Alright. So this will need to include a bunch of stuff. Editable game board. Game board editor. So we need to include game board editor. Sprite sheet painter. Sprite sheet painter has, so these are these concepts. Alright, okay, so we probably need the sprite sheet stuff as well. Sprite sheet content painter. And the concepts as well. Quite a lot of these. All right. Editable game board. All right, so maybe these can just go here. Bamberg, how's it going? Hope you're alright today. Get pixels per world unit is in app. So we need to include app. Get residency. Residency. Interesting. All right. So the question is, can we compile game board editor with all this stuff? This, I think game board editor does need to include content painters though. Painter has after paint instance. Okay, so we do need these concepts. In the header file, or possibly could get away with them. Could we get away with them here? Found a good learner result. Ah, right, okay. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Sprite sheet after paint instance. So that actually needs to go in here. Possibly. I use Visual Assist. That helps me a lot. navigating big code bases. Well, two things in particular. Like, this is good. Just go to File. Pretty sure Visual Studio has it. But it, I don't know if it has one that just works on files. And then this one is go to method in file, which is very handy. Obviously, you do need like a bit more of a broader knowledge of the actual file system for that. Heard of Doc? Yeah, I have. Yeah. Doxygen. Yeah. What if I use that? Yeah. That's yeah. It helps write the documentation, doesn't it? That's one of the main uses of it. That builds anyway. So we went from. So how many lines of code have we got now? 5,500. So that was 3,000 lines of code there, was it? Off 2,000 lines, 1,000 lines. I'm not sure. Can't remember. All right. Intersect content. There's lots of them, so we'll do that with intersect content as well. Yeah, cool. The P code operation reference. What's that? It sounds interesting. I've not heard of that. Okay, so this also needs to include game board content. And it also needs to forward declare your game content paint mode. Register transfer language. Don't know what that is either, unfortunately. P code. Sounds complicated what you're doing. So we have this. Could forward declare all that. Intersection candidate comes from game board editor. I might just do this, you know. An intermediate assembly language. Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Intermediate representation. Yeah, I've heard of that type of thing. Intermediate languages. Okay. So, intersect content. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So this needs to include game board editor. And that. Right, so that build. Oh. So this needs to include intersect content, I believe. And app as well. It doesn't include app. It does include app. Oh, it's just put PCH there for some reason. Get app not found. Just done it. What's going on here? Okay. Intersect content. Hey child, how's it going? Benjin 5. Benjin, yeah. On par with UE5. Nope, not at all. Hope you're alright. Getting close, keep having to ask new questions. Yeah. Cool. Alright, so it doesn't know about the intersector now. So intersect content. Yeah. Just managed to find new roadblocks. Very abstract for my brain. It's working your brain out. It's what keeps it healthy though. So it's hard, but it's just the same as going to the gym. But for your brain. So it can't find it for this T. It could find it for the painter though. Not for intersect content. Oh, his content brush data. Where's that come from? Game board content. Yeah. What a bizarre error that is. That must mean we need, for some reason, an intersect content in game. We need to forward declare. So how many errors have we got? Difficult to say which one it is. Okay, well let's try forward declaring them and see if it gets rid of those errors. Yeah, this would be. Okay. Sony. So got to forward declare all these struct. Well, actually we can't because intersection candidate comes from game board editor. So we probably have to include game board editor. Which means we don't need to forward declare this anymore. Which means rewriting these. Oh, we can't. It has to be in the header file. No, it doesn't need to be in the header file. It needs to be rewritten like this. Now some of them do. Oh, this does need to be in the header file. Why is it? Yeah, maybe that's why it couldn't figure it out. Now we could put it in the header file. Some of them need to be in the header file. So this one does. That one does. That one does. That one does. That one does. Like pretty much all of them. Apart from a couple. That one does. That one does. That kind of adds quite a lot to the build time, you know. Still didn't like it though. Yeah, maybe. Let's go to the content painters. That compiled fine. Yeah, so here's the thing, this doesn't matter. This probably should be in the header as well. Maybe we can't split it up. I mean, we could, but we'd have to put them in header files. Alright. Let's just scrap that for now. It did compile. Ooh, it didn't scrap it all though. Did compile, but I wonder if that's just circumstantial, really. Dunno. What's going on here as well? Because I did just delete. So what did I do with Gameboard Editor? As it hasn't actually deleted the files. This is so confusing. So I've clicked undo, but it didn't actually delete those files. I have to specifically say delete, I think. That's new. But they're still there. Yeah, they have gone off disk though. Well, let's just check. Yeah. Alright, well, we'll just keep it like this. Whatever, it's fine. So let's work on collidable then. So this is when we click this and then we could actually put in a collision trigger, collision region even. So game bar content. So for trigger content data, got board collider. So we're actually going to rename this collidable content data. Like this. All right. So collidable content data, we're going to move up near trigger. And then now one called collider. Maybe we should call it collider content data. That's better. So we want to have enum type pair, collider content data, like that. And then in gameboard editor, we need to do something similar to this. Where's trigger content too? We want collider content too. That's collider content data. Content brush type collider. And then stamp only collider. Well, the thing is, triggers aren't anymore. Colliders will be though. You're not going to be able to drag a collider out, I don't think. Hoopmaker, eh? Like saying hello to Fanbjerg. Another Lazy Ben game stream, yeah. Yeah. Hope you're okay. Okay. So is that everything we need? Let's build that. Is content brush. We have something with trigger content too in it. We say higher trigger content types. So we'll do one for collider content types. Collision. Call it collision there. We'll probably call it collider. And this actually just tells... Ooh, where are we? The editor. About, you know, the editor buttons about what is what. Where are we? So we say like... enum type pair. The edit mode collider is responsible for the collider content types. Alright, let's get rid of these compile errors and make a cup of coffee. Got 5 minutes till the next ad break, so there we go. So now there actually aren't. They're just telling us what I need to implement. Okay. So we've got everything set up now for colliders. Now I just need to implement all the relevant classes to make it work, hook it up. So, for instance, get brush instance bounds for collider. For collider content data. And that's got points. It's just a vec2. So that's collider data. And that isn't a that doesn't happen there. Oh, we put it in the wrong place though. Get bounds is not a member of collider data. Okay. So rect bounds. So that is just, we need a bounding box or a bounding rect, and then we go with each points bb. Well, I think we can actually just say points and then return bb. So that's quite simple. I think that would work. Yeah. Just doing some work before meeting in an hour. Right, cool. I've got half an hour of the stream left. I haven't felt like I've barely streamed today because I got in at like 11 o'clock. Or even past that, 11:30. And I'm used to like streaming for like 6 hours. So but I'm just getting started, but not really. Intersect content. Right. Okay, so how do we want to do this? It's kind of similar to the triggers. Colliders are actually meshes. It is kind of similar, isn't it? Except we don't want to, it's not intersecting there. So this builds up an array of rectangles that the collider is in, that encases the collider. But then what we actually want to do is, if one of those rectangles is hot, we have to check. We have to go if it's hot and geometry intersect point in convex points. So the point is the mouse position. So it's actually the mouse position subtracted. So we need to go back into the actual, so get cursor position. All right, while these ads are going to run, if you get any, I'm just going to make a cup of coffee. I'll be back in 2 minutes. So yeah, get the mouse position. If we don't have it, we can actually early exit. Might not have the mouse position if the mouse is not actually over the top of the game window or whatever. So we need to go auto P is the mouse position minus this. Is that the way around? Yeah. And that puts P back in the actual space of the collider. So we can collide. So the point is P and the points are the data points. All right. That's just P. PID, okay, so we don't actually have, we do have point IDs, I think. So we can just say P, what would it be? Data, point IDs, P. We've got another P. That's point. So this is just a little function that I only wrote a couple of weeks ago. That you have an array of anything, you have or a span of something, and it gives you the index and the reference at the same time, which is quite clever. It's quite convenient. Right, okay. So we're going to call that point as well. All right, cool. So now we need the actual content painter for it. So we'll look for the one that we did with trigger. Content painter. Content editor, it's called. So we've got brushing triggers. And we've also got stamping triggers. So I think what we actually want is we want one that works with both paint modes. Editor. Just for paint mode. For collider content data, collider content. So we do want the preview, which is the same, except red. It's just going to be red. There's no shift in this. So get bounds has not been implemented here. basically the same though. This term does not. Term does not evaluate to a function taking 4 arguments. Oh, because we actually need to implement this operator as well for this to actually compile. So what that means now is, in theory, we get little previews of a little red square on the colliders. So tick board panel. So I think we can delete tick board panel trigger mode, because now that's finished. We have a tick left panel trigger mode. We do, that can go as well. Tick left panel. Okay. So we've got tick left panel focused content there. Okay, so I think that actually can be tick left panel focus content. And tick left panel paint mode can go. Ooh, actually no. That was a bit. Because paint mode has the brush and stuff. Yeah, we need to keep that. But that can be tick left panel focus content. Alright, so let's just build this. And what all I'm really looking for is content editor for colliders. So I'm looking for a little red square, and then when I click it, it to just trigger this breakpoint here. There's a red square. So the red square, it doesn't matter that it's it's always snapping, which is not true. So I think it's just this really. Get bounds can go away. There's no flaw. I think what we do is we let the editor take care of setting the paintbrush position, whether snap is on or off. Triggers, we always wanted it to snap. Okay, so that's not snapping, but when I press this, it goes to snap. So it's also in the bottom left corner. Which probably needs to be in the middle. So I'm going to say if game board editor dot move mode is normal, just say bounds.xy plus equals, and then we'll just say a half. So at least it's in the middle of the mouse pointer. Oh, it must be minus a half. Minus equals a half then. There we go, so it's in the middle. So if I press the mouse button down, we end up there. So that is where we actually want to insert a new collider, basically. What I want to do is the edit mode, the default edit mode. Is it edit mode? Yeah, edit mode. I want it to be set to collider, just defaulted, because I'm going to be working with it for a while. So we also need it to be stamp only. I think we've already set that actually. Remember where it is that you define that. Paintable. It's not paintable. Well, that would be paint content and paint content. Paint content Do we have a stamp only? I thought we did. Is included in edit mode. Alright, content mode type pairs. No, that's a different thing. Maybe because maybe we do want to do a stamp only. Let's see. So what I want to do is I'll just go log line, inserting. I don't want it to continue inserting after the you know, when if I put it on brush mode and then I change to collider and then I start. So if I do this, if I go pick up something that I can brush, right, and I change it to brush mode, paint mode to brush, and then I go to collider, I only still want it to stamp once. It says inserting all over the place, so that's not what I want. So we do want some kind of stamp only. Edit content. Also, we do check if it's complete. So what we can actually do is just say e-game content paint mode stamp. That means it will only work with stamping. So I'll have to do this though. So let's check that again. And then we need to swap it back to stamp as well. We do that. Figure out if that actually works. So we'll select Summit, change it to be pet brush, do that. There we go, inserting. So if we go back, it's still on brush, but it only inserts it once, which is what we want. Okay, so what happens when we insert something? We need to make a collider content data. Collider content data. So we'll get the bounds again. So we probably do need to get bounds. Happy Manchu, hey, how's it going? Hope you're alright today. Hope you're ready for the weekend. I'm tired, so I'm going to be chilling out if I can. good, all good. Nice one. I'm just working on colliders today. Finish triggers off. Now colliders, re-implementing colliders in this new content editor system thing. Right, so we have where we want it to be. So we have 4 points basically. So we need to do we need a content brush instance. Make a new content brush instances and set the data. The position is bounds.center. And we set the data to be trigger content data. I think I should make it. It's not trigger content data though, it's collider content data. And we'll just move it in. So collider content data needs some things. Points and point IDs. Wonder why I've done it like that. For fast, well, it's not fast. It just means that we don't have to reallocate anything when we want to draw it, I suppose. Okay. Points and points IDs. Wonder where the point IDs thing comes in. Wonder what point ID is. Oh, look, it just works it out for us. I mean, so it's quite straightforward actually. It's just collider content data. Position. Position is just get bounds, game board editor, dot center. That can go away. And that's just dot position is position. This is just position. It's that straightforward. And then result is instances instances index. All right, so we need to get the whatever instances is. So auto instances is content get brush instances. Auto index. So that should allow us to stamp one in. We just need to render it. So game board content on a renderer for renderer for collider content. It's pretty straightforward. Collider content data. And then we're just going to draw points, draw polygon in world. So the position is, we don't have an offset there. It would be nice actually if we had an offset. We'll make one with an offset then. So we're going to do const vec2 offset. Draw polygon in world.
Ads running soon.
Oh, here's the thing. Yeah, we'd have to go through. Oh, we do have position. Position point count. So we have an offset. We have an offset version. Awesome. So this is just offset. So now I can do offset point color red quad Z max possibly poly Z max. All right, cool. And then we also want to do draw polygon outline in world. And that also needs an offset. Just do that straight red, and that's polyline Z max. Okay, cool. So let's see then. So if this works, we click it, and we just get a polygon in the world. This is just a square, but it should have a little red border as well. But what we also want to do is, when it's focused, we need to be able to double click on it so we can edit its points. I think that's how it works. Which is a slightly different renderer, because we want to render actual points as well. the vertices. There we go. There's our collider. It kind of looks a little bit off in the top right, in the top left corner there. Look at that, the pixel off. Okay, so we'll fix that. I think it's the outline. Well, it's definitely the outline one, but we'll just run it again. Check it's not. Check it's not both of them. Yeah, that's just a straight up square, isn't it? So what's going on here then? So it's just going through and drawing lines. There to there, there to there. So let's grid this. Let's put it on a grid. Oh, I'm gonna have to head off actually. Run out of time. Gone quick today. But yeah, I'll see everybody back on Monday. It's a good stream. Got quite a bit done, even though it was a shorter one. But we're back at about 9:30 on Monday. See you later.